part of the reason you choose that partner is capability, and part of it is chemistry. And I used to believe that it was 50-50 capability chemistry. I now believe it's something like 35% capability and maybe 65% chemistry.
Welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs, growing 1% everyday podcast. Hello and welcome to the Art of Kaizen, growing business 1% every day. Today we have Joe Koufman, founder and CEO of Setup, a company focused on matching businesses to marketing agencies to find the perfect fit for their goals. Thank you for joining me today, Joe.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Kyle. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely love it. You do something very, very unique. You're actually in the realm where you find the perfect fit for marketing agencies for the clients and the clients for the marketing agencies. I haven't heard of this concept before. Can you elaborate a little bit on where this idea came from and how you started this company?
Well, first, I actually am responsible for matching 3 couples that ultimately married and had a couple of kids. So matchmaking was already in my blood. And I spent 6 years running business development and marketing for an agency called Engage. And we sold to Publicis Group, massive holding company in 2013. We were about 43 million in revenue when we sold. And I had brought in most of the clients that made up that revenue. And I had multiple job offers from small agencies that wanted me to help them do what I had done for Engage, but do it for them. And I had a friend that said, you ought to start your own agency. And the reality is I didn't really love the idea of building websites or doing social or PR or SEO. I really loved the matchmaking aspect of bringing together brand and agency. And so that led me to the idea of Setup, where we're marketing matchmakers connecting brands and agencies together.
I love that. And, being so unique in this field, right? Can you give me some outliers and specific things that you guys do as a company to ensure that matchmaking is a success?
Yeah. So a lot of clients, particularly larger clients, embark on these massive RFP processes where they're, either hire a search consultant or they assign somebody internally to manage a whole process, an RFP process. And they typically start with a giant pool of agencies and try to narrow it down to a couple of really qualified agencies to come and pitch. And the reality is that whole process is not only difficult for agencies in terms of responding to RFPs, and it's kind of a pain of a process. But imagine managing 40 agencies and then 10 agencies that get an RFP and then 4 that come in and pitch. It's a lot of back and forth communication. It's a lot of management and time. And clients love working with us because they feel sometimes limited by their network of agencies and potential agencies. They ask their friends at another company, they ask their colleagues who they've worked with, but it's not the best way to find a really good qualified agency. And so they come to us. We work with them to write a really clean, crisp marketing brief outlining exactly what they're trying to accomplish. And then we look across a collective of agencies that we've put through a very rigorous vetting process up front to understand what makes them really good and special and unique, so that we can then recommend the top 3 or 4 agencies for their specific need. And the reason we introduced that client to 3 or 4 different agencies is that the reality is when you select an agency partner, part of the reason you choose that partner is capability, and part of it is chemistry. And I used to believe that it was 50-50 capability chemistry. I now believe it's something like 35% capability and maybe 65% chemistry. And it's hard for us to predict who's going to mesh best with the client and the client's team. And so it's up to the client to decide between the 4 qualified agencies if one of them is a perfect fit for them.
Oh, I love that. And that combination, you're so right, because you have to work with these people every single day, right? If you actually care about the growth of your company, you're going to be well connected to your marketing agency. So developing not only the capabilities, but that interpersonal connection is so needed between the two. When you go through this, who is your unique, or who is your ideal customer? Are you working with small mom and pop shops to find them the agency that could use their budget and things of that nature? Are you working with Fortune 500
Yeah.
companies? Who's your ideal customer?
So the clients that we work with range, we've worked with many Fortune 500, and we work with mostly larger companies to help them find the right agencies to support them. They're not always going to be an agency of record kind of relationship they're looking for. Sometimes it's that they're filling a gap in either capacity or capability, right? Capacity gap is we don't have enough arms and legs to do all the marketing activities we'd like to get accomplished, or capability would be we're good at these 10 things, but there are these other two or three things that we're not so good at. And so we might find agencies to support that. And we've found that with larger clients, they usually have some kind of an ecosystem of agencies that support them and also staff team, internal marketing team. And we often find that we can help the client think through that ecosystem and fill those gaps where they're, to move them from where they are today to the, um, you know, utopia, or not utopia, but the, the perfect ecosystem for them. And the reality is, for every company, that ecosystem looks completely different. What's perfect for Coca-Cola is not perfect for, you know, Nike or some other company. And but to answer your question, I mean, we work with mostly larger and mid-sized companies to help connect them with agency support. And the agencies we work with are mostly, at least 50 or 100 full-time employees. We do think that smaller agencies can certainly support larger clients in specific initiatives. And we actually launched a service for smaller agencies that's a mastermind group to connect smaller agencies to people and resources that can help them grow. But we're typically working with a little bit larger agencies and a little bit larger clients.
Oh, I love that. So you now have a mastermind for smaller agencies to support them in their growth to be able to get these larger clients. And then with the larger agencies, you're actually connecting them with clients to help the development.
Exactly. Yeah. So our core service, which, for the agency's perspective, we would call sustainable pipeline, we're actually putting them through the vetting process and then actually introducing them to potential clients. With a mastermind group, it's more about helping them connect with each other and helping them learn how to grow. So teaching them to fish rather than handing them fish.
Oh, I love that. Teaching them the fish. Great analogy. Can we dive into that vetting process a little bit? I'm
Sure.
curious, as an agency owner, what is some of the things that you're looking at to
Yeah.
qualify someone as a good agency for your clients?
It's called the agency assessment process. It takes about a month to complete, and there's sort of two groups that we survey to try to understand more about the agency. The first group is clients, and we bucket them into three different clients. So the first question on the survey is: are you a current client of the agency? Are you a past client that no longer works with the agency? Or are you a client that chose to work with somebody else instead? So you went through a competitive process and decided to not work with that agency. Well, sometimes that feedback is more valuable than the ones that you do work with, right? And so the questions that we ask them are about the pitch. How did the agency do in the pitch, and what was the process for finding the agency, and then what did you like and not like about them during that process? And then if they are a current client or past client, we ask them about the work. Hey, what do you love about working with this agency, and what do you not love about working this agency? On a scale of 1 to 10, how creative are they? How good is their use of data? How good is their client services? All of those things. And then not only do we ask a number, but we also ask, well, why did you give them that number? And the cool thing is that because we've been doing these for over 10 years now, we have a set up average that we can compare their numbers to say, look, you scored an 8.3 from a creativity standpoint, and the setup average is a 7.9. So you're a little bit above the setup average from a creativity standpoint, but maybe you're a little below the average from a client services standpoint. The other set of inputs that go in are the staff. And when we ask the questions of the staff, the first survey question is, are you less than a year at the agency? So you're a newbie with fresh eyes. Are you a tenured staff that's been there for longer than a year, or are you senior leadership or executive leadership, regardless of your tenure? And the purpose of collecting all of those inputs from clients and staff are threefold. Number one, we the output is that we come up with a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, as well as action items that we recommend for the agency to improve, not just about business development, but about the whole agency. So the first thing is it holds a mirror up to the agency and teaches them lessons that they wouldn't learn otherwise. The second thing is that it uncovers opportunity because we slide a question in the middle of the survey that says something like, well, what do you wish that you could do, that the agency could do for you, or that they could have done for you? And even for the staff, we ask the staff, well, what's your hidden talent that nobody at the agency knows about? And sometimes the hidden talent is, I'm fluent in Spanish. So if we pitch a Spanish speaking client, I'm your guy. Or, I worked in automotive for 5 years. And so if we pitch an automotive client, maybe I'm your woman, for this opportunity. Um, so holds a mirror up to the agency, uncovers opportunity. And then thirdly, it helps us really get underneath the hood to understand what makes the agency special and unique. That way, when we're talking to a client and helping them write the brief, we're thinking which agencies are perfect for this specific client and this specific need. And that way we make really good quality matches between brands and agencies. If we were to make shitty matches, sorry for the language, then clients wouldn't continue to come back to us over and over again. And so we've had multiple clients that asked us for help for finding a specific agency and then later come back and say, oh, that was great. I've got this other need. Can you help us find an agency for that? Can you help us find an agency for that? So it's fun for us as well because we're solving real problems for the client. They're filling real gaps in their ecosystem. And for the agencies, we're helping connect them with potential clients that are a really good fit. So that's fun.
Joey, you're about have me signing up. I'm gonna be contacting you after this call to see how qualified we are, because the amount of sweat equity that you're putting in to make sure you're giving a great reference. I mean, at the end of the day, that's really what you're doing is you're creating these references between the client and the agency themselves, and your actual persona is on the line there, right? You make a bad reference, they look at you negatively. So the sweat
Sure.
equity that you're putting in to develop a good understanding of these agencies, as well as a good understanding of how they can help your potential clients, is incredible. I love this. And again, right after this call, I'll be hitting you up via email to not only support setup, but also to see how qualified we are at Kaizen. I mean, it's one thing that we've always tried to do is run a great business. And the fact that you're going out there looking for great businesses to support even better businesses is just a beautiful matchmaking combo. So let me ask you this. You sounds like you have your system really well structured. You've been doing this for the last 10 years. You have your KPI set of what a good agency is. You know the type of clients that you want to help out. Where do you think your business goes in the next 5 to 10
Yeah.
years?
Well, the mastermind group that we launched is relatively new. We launched it in May, and the first cohort started. And the reason we launched it was because we got sick of saying no to smaller agencies that were really great, and we basically turned them all away. And also, often there's smaller clients that come to us that want our support to help, refer them to potential agency partners. And in some cases, we didn't really have smaller agencies that were a better fit for those smaller clients as well. So that was one thing that just launched. I think in 2025 and beyond, one of the things that setup will focus on is actually live events because, at our core, we're matchmakers connecting brands and agencies together. And and I use the analogy that we're sort of like a travel agent that understands the needs of, when you go on a trip, what are the things you want from an experience standpoint. There are plenty of ways that you could find a list of agencies. You can Google and find a list of thousands of agencies, but it's hard to parse through that list to know who's really good and who's not good. And so we're very curated in terms of the group of agencies that we'll take on as part of our collective. But I do think there's something to um, putting together events that bring brands and agencies together in person to get to know one another and decide if you might need support, and also learn from each other as well. We do a lot of educational kind of work to connect brands with resources. So, for example, we have a series of guides designed for new marketing roles. So, if you get promoted from director to VP, we've got a guide for a new VP of marketing and what are the things you should do now that you're VP of marketing. And we have RFP templates, we have budgeting templates, we have other tools that are designed to really help marketers thrive and connect them with the best resources and the best people. So we've written a blog post once a week for the last 10 plus years, and Google has deemed us worthy from an SEO standpoint for many of those blog posts. So that if you Google roles within a marketing agency, or you Google marketing matchmakers, or um, uh, uh, marketing career path, we come up number one on Google for all of those terms, and that's a function of just answering the question that people are asking of Google in this case. But we're, next next step for us will be live events in 2025 and beyond.
Well, send me your schedule because I would love to see it. I'd love to meet you in person, and honestly, love to refer business your way. If any listeners are out there, you couldn't imagine the difficulties that we as agency owners go through just hearing the conversation from our clients of, yeah, I had a past agency that was not valuable, or I had a past agency that stole my information, or I had a past agency that did something that was unethical or unstructured or put a bad taste in people's mouths. It's crazy to hear some of the business owners that truly believe certain aspects of their growth don't function because of the agency that they were with previously. So what you're doing in really putting out the noise and canceling out all the negativity of bad referrals and bad agency connections is extraordinarily powerful. And for anybody listening to this, if you haven't gone through that process before of vetting 5 to 7 different agencies to finding somebody that can actually execute in a way that resonates with you and does the goal of what you're looking for, it is extremely painstaking. And the process is extensive, and every single one of their sales pitches are incredible. But what really matters is the questions that you had about the internal practices, that how do their employees feel about the company, how do the previous clients feel about the company, and to be able to pull those references and put it into a database so that when you do make a referral, it has so much information that it's really for the core of your client, the core of the business that's looking for an agency. I absolutely love that. If you are a small business and you mentioned a bunch of different references that you have, are those references free on your website? Can customers
Yeah,
find that anywhere?
for sure. The setup.us/blog is our blog. But actually, in the footer of our site is a blog archives link, and that's a great way to see a list of all of the blogs by, they're sorted by topic, and that way, if somebody's looking for an answer to a specific topic, then we've got all the resources there. I can give them to you to add maybe to show notes or something like
Oh
that.
yeah, you guys will be able to find it in the description below. You'll find a link to their website as well as a link to that archive in the description below. Make sure you guys dive through that because again, it's a very, very powerful aspect. And the fact that you're giving free information, I can't tell you in 2024 how many people I have personally met that have called me saying that, hey, I got a job as a CMO or marketing director or something of that nature. Can you help me out? I don't clearly understand my role in this position. I'm just here to help the business. For you guys to outline that and give it clear, open data for these individuals that are trying to strive in the marketing field is incredible. So you have free resources on the website. You have a bunch of data from setup. And as you said, your knowledge that you're putting out there is so valuable. You're getting ranked on Google. So if anybody looks up matchmaking, agency matchmaking, or if they're looking up specific role information, they can find you. Is there anywhere else that customers can find information
Yeah.
or a little bit deeper into setup?
Well, let me tell you about one other thing, Kyle, that might be interesting is that we do an annual marketing relationship survey to understand the relationship between brands and their agencies. And we've been fortunate that the last 3 years, Ad Age has published the results of that survey. Fast Company published it, The Drum, a couple of others. And we're in the process now of compiling the results from the 2024 marketing relationship survey. We had over 400 brands and agencies respond to a pretty long survey of questions to understand that relationship better. And we're actually going to be hosting kind of a webinar to share the results of that marketing relationship survey. I believe it'll probably be November before we actually host it, November 2024 when we host it. Um, but that marketing relationship survey, if you go to marketingrelationshipsurvey.com, you'll see, I think, last year's results there as well. But it's been fun to really be known as experts on that agency client agency relationship. And so we've been fortunate to be tapped by, a number of people to talk about what we know about that relationship.
And yeah, extremely unique, right? So, I mean, normally when we go through these podcasts, I'm asking about USPs, I'm asking about your ideal customer. We dove into that a little bit, but really, I do a lot of research in the market. I've never found a business like yours. So setup itself, I think, is absolutely one of a kind. Joe, you've done an incredible job building a business that not only is giving a good service, but you've built on the value that service gives the general community by putting out these blogs and this other information over the last 10 years. It's really, really incredible. I have one bonus question for you. That's kind of a
Sure.
little outside of the marketing realm, specifically for the matchmaking side. But are you familiar with the book Atlas Shrugs?
I am. I haven't read it, but I know that that's Ayn Rand.
Yes, yes. So, I mean, if anybody reads it, it's very impressive. It's extraordinarily long holding time. So sorry, Joe.
No problem.
One second. This is what happened. I got just a little bit of short notice. I got back from France yesterday. So my office is usually beautiful and I have a background just like you up, and I just don't have right now. Okay. So to go back into it. Yeah, Atlas Shrugs is an incredible book, extensively long, very, very lengthy, and it's understanding why you haven't read it. But the premise of the book is incredible. The basic idea is that every one of us, the business owner like yourself and as me, we put all this pressure on our shoulders. Every business owner in the world has decided to put additional pressure on their shoulders through either the not doing the 9 to 5 or putting the pressure of employees, the pressure of a service on their shoulders to able to help and support the world. But what happened if all of us just shrugged it off and said, I don't want to run a company. I don't want to deal with the stress. I don't want to deal with the problems and tribulations. And what if today Atlas shrugged and every business that you know just vanished? What business would you start tomorrow?
It's funny. I've talked to my team about whether I would sell setup, and the answer, unless somebody came along with a giant pile of cash, the answer is no. And the reason I wouldn't sell is that I would have to probably go to work for somebody for a year or two as part of my earnout. And then I would probably start another company. And the company I would start is this one. So I told my team, I'm not going through that headache and hassle to sell the company and then start a new one, which it would be this company. It's fun for us to match brands with needs with agencies that can support them, and it's satisfying, and it gives us all, I think, a little bit of dopamine when we can make a successful match and the client is happy with the selection. So yeah, I would do the same thing again.
Joe, speaking from your heart, truly love what you do, and that resonates in everything that you're doing for your clients and for your agencies and everything across the board. Can you give us a little bit of an outline of where people can find more information on you? You mentioned your website, but you also mentioned a podcast that you were doing before with CMO.
Yeah. So setup.us is our website, and that's the best place to find all kinds of information about us, what we do, how we do it. The blog is there, and also the contact page is there if anybody wants to speak with us. But yeah, to your point, CMO Spotlight, we've been doing the CMO Spotlight for a little over 4 years. We've published over 100 of them. It's a half hour or so interview with the chief marketing officer of major companies, from Papa John's Pizza to United Healthcare to IBM to even some smaller companies. The Guitar Center, that says Guitar Center is the #1 seller of music instruments in the world. I didn't know that. Anyway, that interview series, if you go to cmospotlight.com, you can see some of the more recent CMO spotlights. But I can send you a link to that as well to include in the notes. But they're great. We usually, it's a 30-minute interview, and then we'll cut it down to 5 or 6 minutes to publish on social and share on social. But most people will watch the short video and then click through to the notes page where they can see the full video if they want as well. Very few people actually go to YouTube to watch the video. It's mostly watching it on the page of our site where the show notes are.
I love that, Joe. So if you're a smaller agency and you're looking for information how to work with these larger companies, join the mastermind that Setup has developed. It's in a great way to get you around like-minded individuals, put you in a position to understand what you need to really be with these big boys. And if you're a major agency out there looking to connect with the right clients, make sure you contact Joe at Setup so that you're able to go through this month-long evaluation, which is hopefully where we'll be here at Kaizen the next month. So I'd love to learn exactly where we could be better and what you guys are looking for as an ideal agency. But again, if you're a larger agency, you're looking for a matchmaker that can connect you with the perfect client. Joe Koufman at Setup is here to support you guys, and his team is rocking and rolling for the last 10 years and obviously doing an incredible job with all of the information that you have out there being publicized by all of these major publications, as well as you ranking for everything that you do on Google. You're in a spot where you're really helping businesses find the right agencies and the agencies find the right businesses to connect. Joe, thank you so much for your time. Is there anyone else you'd like to shout out or any other further information you'd like to share on this?
No, I just want to shout out my team. They're amazing. They've done, we've grown over the years, and I'm fortunate to work with some very passionate people that also care about connecting brands and agencies. So my team is pretty awesome. But thanks so much for the time, Kyle. It was such a pleasure to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. I appreciate it so much. If you guys watch this whole video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you, Joe, again from Setup, and we will talk to you everybody soon.